Hi, welcome to Columbia Historic Preservation Society. My name is Chris Vera, the director of the museum. We hold a lot of genealogy, the Columbia Bank and Bridge Company documents, ledgers, and a large collection of Civil War memorabilia on display currently. We are open from Saturday and Sundays from 1 to 4 p.m. Now I'm going to take you on a tour where some of the major abolitionists of the Columbia held their meetings and made sure that these people were safe to cross that river into Columbia and be safe forever. Thank you. We are currently at the home of the Columbia Bank and Bridge Company, established 1811 up to 1864, and it is believed where a lot of the abolitionists met in Columbia in those times. William Wright, Stephen Smith, William Whipper, they would have all had bank accounts in this building. We're currently at the Columbia River Park. You are looking at the existing piers that were built in 1834 and destroyed in 1863 during the Civil War. We believe that this was a thoroughfare for the slaves to come across the river. Such characters like Robert Loney would have brought them across in his boat, his rafts. It was a major thoroughfare. This is where the people felt like they were free when they touched this land on Columbia side.
Hi, my name is Pat Clark, and I'd like to welcome you to President James Buchanan's Wheatland. Come on inside, and we'll take a look around. Very good. Hi, welcome to Wheatland, and we're standing in Mr. Buchanan's private library here at his home in Lancaster Township. James Buchanan was the nation's 15th President of the United States, predecessor to Abraham Lincoln, and oftentimes blamed for the coming of the Civil War. Wheatland is an older home than Buchanan's ownership. It dates back to 1828, and Buchanan became its fourth owner. And this was the home where Buchanan retired. Wheatland is a historic site that is overseen by LancasterHistory.org, which is a combination of the Lancaster County Historical Society, Wheatland, the Heritage Museum and Quilt Collection. So please come back and visit with us here at Wheatland anytime. The Campus of History is open Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. Wheatland tours are offered during that time, and we'd love to have you come visit with us.
Greetings. Welcome to St. James Episcopal Church in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. We were founded in 1744. During its early history, St. James welcomed both black, both freed and slaves. They were seated at the back of the church, and seated near them was General Bode, who became a Revolutionary War officer. He was a congressman from Lancaster and ended up living in Columbia. and was involved in a very early resistance in 1804. St. James was involved in the establishment of the Bethel American and Methodist Episcopal Church in Lancaster. Both its members, black members and white members, supported the establishment of the church. In the churchyard, you will find that there are a number of blacks who are buried in unmarked graves. And over 40 blacks were either baptized, married, or buried from St. James during its early history from 1774 up to the mid-1830s.
Welcome to the Fulton Theater. I'm Aaron Young, the Fulton's Managing Director. The Fulton Theater was built on the foundation of the Lancaster City Jail, which you can see some evidence of here in our lobby. We're in the theater's green room, which is located directly under the stage of the theater, and the actors gather in here. And behind me is one of the original walls of the Lancaster jail, and embedded in it is the ironworks for a doorway, an archway that went into a courtyard that was part of the jail structure.
Well before the time of the Underground Railroad episode, the Lancaster County Jail was a site of an infamous massacre of Native Americans from the Conestoga tribe. In fact, the last of the area Conestogas who were slaughtered by people from the Harrisburg area in December of 1763 while they were supposed to be held in safety inside the jail.
Good morning, and welcome to the Lancaster Marriott at Penn Square. Hello, I'm Josh Novak, and I'm pleased to be standing near the registration desk at the Lancaster Marriott at Penn Square, where we offer this fact board to help orient our thousands of guests to some attractions they ordinarily wouldn't see at a hotel and convention center. Our site here includes the former residence law office and tavern owned by powerful political leader and fierce abolitionist Thaddeus Stevens. Stevens is considered the father of public school education and the champion of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. These ended slavery, extended equal protection for all citizens, and granted all male citizens the right to vote. In 2011, Stevens' home and law office was named by the National Park Service as a National Underground Railroad Network to Freedom site. It is with profound privilege that we're helped pay tribute to such a significant American hero, one of the most influential citizens ever to help shape our country's history.
Okay, this is the interior courtyard behind the Thaddeus Stevens house. And up until 2002, this was covered over by a parking lot and a brick paved area. But at about that time, this was excavated by teams of archaeologists and citizens from Lancaster City and County. And it was discovered that there was a cistern here, which was an underground water collection vessel that was used for domestic water supply, both for the Thaddeus Stevens house and for the tavern next door, which Thaddeus Stevens owned. The archaeologist, after excavating the materials inside of the cisterns, came up with the theory that these two vessels were emergency hiding places for freedom-seeking African Americans during the Underground Railroad. I'm standing in what remains of the basement of what was called the Clace Tavern, which is a public house, tavern and hotel that was owned by Thaddeus Stevens when he first came here to Lancaster in 1842. This building goes back to the late 1700s. This was the floor level approximately here when this building was first opened up and examined for its potential historic significance. This was the north wall of the tavern, and this entire area below here was used for brewing. And the archaeologists that examined this facility and this structure believe that the stones and the masonry joinery work here is different in this particular area. And correspondingly, on the other side of this wall are the two cisterns that were water collection systems, and the one of which to the left appears to have an opening in the end of it that indicated possible passage for a person to climb through. So the theory that the archaeologists came up with was that this was a hiding place, an emergency hiding place. If slave catchers were in the area, freedom-seeking African Americans or people who had escaped enslavement in the South, who were being cared for by Thaddeus Stevens and his compatriots here in the city of Lancaster, could have used this as an emergency hiding place. And then while this thing was open, conceivably, temporarily, there could have been a shelving system moved in front of this so that the hole in the opening wasn't visible from the outside if someone came into the basement here. In the cistern, the archaeologist excavated a number of household goods that gave a really clear indication of the date and the caliber of people, their dietary habits that were found inside of the cisterns. Like most archaeological sites from the 19th century, usually people look for outdoor privy pits to find evidence like this, but in this case it was a cistern that was not used anymore for water after the Thaddeus Stevens house and other facilities in downtown Lancaster obtained public water.
I repose in this quiet and secluded spot, not from any natural preference for solitude, but finding other cemeteries limited as to race by charter rules. I have chosen this that I might illustrate in my death the principles which I advocated through a long life. Equality of man before his creator.
The framers of the 14th Amendment establishing equal treatment for all. He kept Southerners from taking over Congress and laid the groundwork for Reconstruction, which sought to create an equal society in the South.
Hi, I'm Jack Brubaker. I'm the scribbler for Lancaster newspapers. My family, the Brubakers, were interconnected with the Gibbons family, one of the primary operators on the Underground Railroad in Lancaster County. The Gibbonses moved here in the late 18th century from Westchester, settled along the old Philadelphia Pike in a mill that still stands, and a house that no longer stands that was connected to the mill. And then moved to a house on Beechdale Road, which no longer stands. It was built in 1815. And from that place, 3 generations of Gibbons families operated the Underground Railroad. At one point, they had processed at least 1,000 fugitives because they had to destroy the records of those fugitives when they thought the slave catchers were hot on their trail. And then they processed more slaves after that. The family were Quakers, of course, and very committed to the anti-slavery movement and became Republicans when the Republican Party was formed. Their descendant, Mariana, the last in the line, carried on the tradition by writing about anti-slavery efforts, and for the Lancaster County Historical Society, and for newspapers in Philadelphia and elsewhere.
People traveling on the Underground Railroad between stops in Lancaster County would have traveled down a road like this, and today we can still experience this landscape as one of the most beautiful and productive agricultural areas in the country, if not the world. This is an old farm road between the Daniel and Hannah Gibbons' house, between the next stop on the Underground Railroad, between Strasburg and Bird in Hand. This would have been a path that freedom seekers would have crossed after they left the Gibbons' house.